Okay, so we just talked about the purpose of a model and the purpose of understanding linear equations. So I'm going to start from fresh now, understanding that when we're talking about a model, we're talking about something that's happening in real life. So I'm going to start just by drawing myself a little graph. Okay, and we're going to work through what we do, what other things we need to do to our graph in order for it to represent a real model. So we're going to look at the plants. Okay, so we're thinking about a little tomato plant example here, and we're going to talk about it in relation to y equals a plus bx. Okay, so we talked last video about how the model was structured. So in this case, the y we talked about was h, and that meant height. Okay, and we talked about x was t, and that was time. Okay, so once we know these things, we can fill out our first part. So I'm putting time down there, and I'm putting h up here. Okay, so we've got now a function that says h equals a, I might just change colour there, h equals a plus b t. Okay, we've put our time and our height in our model first off. Okay, so that's what they've done here. They said let h be the height of the plant in centimetres. So I could even go further and just write centimetres in here, and that's always good. And they've also put let t be the time in weeks after it was planted. So I can put weeks in there. So having that on our linear model, we've come up with that final equation, height equals a plus bt. We've just got to have a look at our graph. So looking at what the information they've said here, it looks like it starts off at something. Okay, so in this case, that plant started off as 5 centimetres. Okay, so we know that when we first start, so the first week, 0 weeks, when we get it, we start at 5 centimetres. I'm just going to stick that on my graph. And we know that it goes up. Every week it goes up, and what they're saying down here, in this case, 6 centimetres per week. So we know I can draw a line here. I know I might need to go a little bit steeper. If I go up 6 centimetres, that's going to be 11, about there. And we know that's 1 week. What I can look at then is, and if I make a bigger graph and on a piece of, maybe scale it out a little bit better, I can plot that growth over several weeks, okay, to find out how tall my plant's going to end up growing. As long as I follow that line, I'll be pretty safe. Okay, so let's go back to our equation. So we know that h equals a plus bt. So what does now A and B represent? So we know that A represents the y-intercept. What does a y-intercept mean? So the y-intercept happens when whatever's on the x-axis is 0. Okay? So in this case, the y-intercept's happening at 5 centimetres. So we can say at 0, that point, oops, use my eraser then instead of using my pen. So at this point, that goes into A. So next point we want to do, before I write out the question again, the next thing is the B. How far up does it go? So we want basically the rise over run. If we're looking at 1 unit, we can just look at that rise over that 1 unit. In this case, it's 1 week. And we've been told that that is 6. Okay, you could calculate it if you've got other information, but in this case it says B is the constant rate at which the plant's height increases each week. Okay, that's really important. If we've got 1 week, we can simply say that the gradient is equal to that increase over that 1 week. If we had 2 weeks, then we're going to have to do a calculation. But we've got 1 week, so they've pretty much given it to us on a platter. So we can say now that this rise okay, is 6 centimetres. Okay, because it's rise over 1, it's 6 centimetres up over 1 week. 6 over 1 is 6. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to plot that into here. B equals 6, and put my A equals 5. And now all I have to do is complete my equation. H equals 5 plus 6 times T. Okay, we've done this a few times. We did this back in linear equations where we used real life situations and made an equation for them. This is the same thing. Okay, so we need to be able to read the information. So if you look here, the information we've gathered out of here is that A is the initial height of the plant. Okay, so we have a number. So we always replace A and B with numbers, and we replace X and Y with the values that we're talking about. So I might just put that as a note here. So when you come back here, 1, replace X and Y with real world variables. And 2, replace A and B with correct numbers. Okay, and that's what we need to do. I'll just remove this so you can see that last little note. So replace X and Y with real variables, replace A and B with correct numbers, and that's how we end up with our equation. Okay. We're going to do a couple more of those over the next couple of videos, okay, because this is really important. This is the real nuts and bolts of this course.